Hey guys, welcome to our first podcast of the Tunnel Vision podcast. I'm your host, of course, Padit, or you can call me Coach P. Of course, our first person we're going to have on our podcast is going to be Sophie. Sophie has been working with us for over 4 years now. She was actually my very, very first client, even before Tunnel Vision. Um, and yeah, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, my name's Sophie. As he said, I do compete in wellness. Um, I've been with Tunnel Vision since it was trained by Padit, so kind of cool. It's been over 4 years now, actually. We've been dating, me and Padit, for coming up on 4 years now, too. So, yeah, nothing else very exciting about me, but that's it.
Nice. Um, so, what really got you into fitness and bodybuilding in the first place?
So, I've always been very active. I grew up in competitive dance. I did gymnastics also. I did Irish dance, in case anyone's wondering. Kind of cool. I was one of those people, yes. But I've always been the kind of person where I just could never sit down. I want to be on my feet all day. I drove my mom crazy because I would never sit down still. And when I was in high school, I got a weight room pass just so I could start using the gym. Eventually moved on to a real gym and kind of just went down from there.
Nice. Um, so the biggest thing with tunnel vision is that we do help brand new competitors and new people that are getting into the fitness industry just kind of find the right foot, right? So that's really what I specialize in is just showing first time competitors what it's really like to even have a real coach and not a coach that neglects them. Um, a lot of people do look up to you too, just because you were my very first client and you were basically the lab rat at that point, right? Um, so for you, what was it that clicked in your fitness journey that you were like, I do want to pursue bodybuilding. Like I want to actually compete and potentially get your pro card or even improve from year to year.
So back when I first started working out, my mom actually, my sister's dance teacher was a bikini bodybuilder, and my mom went to her show, and she actually recommended that I should do it, because she's like, "Oh, you're working out, like you could probably do this." And at first, I was like, "Absolutely not. There's no way I could follow a diet. There's no way I could follow a training plan like that." I feel like it kind of planted that seed, and then I met Padit, and he was into bodybuilding. Well, I don't know if I'm talking to you or the people, but anyways, you were into it, and I kind of just tried out the lifestyle a little bit. Um, Ended up falling in love with it. Also, once I stopped competing in dance, I kind of just craved that something to work towards, just having that competition in mind, giving me something to work on, giving me something to work towards. And bodybuilding kind of just came in, filled that hole for me. So, yeah.
Nice. Um, this is one big thing too. A lot of first time competitors get very scared into competing just because it is a very scary thing. Um, what would your tips be for a first time competitor, you think?
One, don't be scared. By the time you make it to the stage, all the work is already done. You've already put in all that work. You're literally just showcasing what you've worked towards. Um, but it's don't think about it in terms of it being, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to get this done. Think of it as a challenge. It's a personal growth. Like being able to prove to yourself that you can do something like that is it's extremely rewarding, first of all. But it's kind of fun just pushing your body to its limits, seeing how far you can go, seeing how you can work under that immense stress, pressure on your body, basically no food, all the cardio. It's just a good challenge for yourself. And I think it's always good for people to have something to push themselves to their limits like that.
Yeah, and it's definitely a really good challenge because I always tell every one of my new competitors, I'm like, start journaling now because when you come out of your show, after that 20 weeks or however long you did, you're going to be a totally new person. Like, not even just physically, but you're going to be a new person mentally. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about just little lessons. Like, my biggest thing was I didn't realize how much food was a part of everyone's life. and how big food actually is a part of going out with your friends, or hanging out with your family, or even going out on dates, right? It's like it was so hard to find dates to do because both of us are big backs. We love eating food, right? Um,
We'd be
but
getting that
yeah,
three-course meal.
exactly. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're gonna learn a lot from yourself. And I always tell people, when on that stage or on that show day, or even the day before the show, look back at that journal that you wrote from the very first day and just see how your mindset has changed, right? And that doesn't only just motivate you, but at the same time, it definitely just like pushes you to strive to do better, right? And um you start seeing like your support system, like your coach, your close friends, your family, right? And you just see who really has your back, because bodybuilding is a very selfish sport, right? It's not like, not, you chose to do it, right? Not, no one has to really go through it in life like you do. um but yeah, no, that's definitely really good for some competitors to really get into. um I guess, yeah, we can talk about the meat and potatoes of this, but a lot of people definitely want to know what your training split looks like.
Legs, legs, and a lot of legs. So Monday, are we doing like a full breakdown of every day, or
Just, yeah, a full breakdown, and then like why we do those things, right?
so Monday we start with legs one, but it's a quad focused leg with hamstring accessories. But obviously for wellness, you just want really big legs overall. So we have a day to mostly work on quads. Tuesday, I do a back and biceps. So for wellness, you don't really need a big back. Um, you don't even display it. Literally, just the point of having a back is to make your waist look a little bit smaller. So that's a little bit more of an easier day for me. Just arms to maintain. And then Wednesday is a glute day for me because I really need to work on the glute. Um, we're just working on overall roundness, growing the shelf, especially. Thursday for me is a rest day, but I do cardio. Um, and then I have a step goal, obviously. And then Friday, legs too, but it's a hamstring focus, quad accessory, but mostly just hamstring and glute, just because my posterior is definitely lacking compared to my anterior. And then Saturday, we have a shoulders and triceps day. Now do need to grow my shoulders, so that's a pretty heavy day, I would say, and my triceps too, because they're kind of non-existent. Um, and then Sunday for me is usually a full rest, but I do have a step goal, so just a little walk, or if I'm out and about.
And
Yeah.
it was really hard to develop even a training split for Sophie, just because she wasn't into heavy explosive sports, in a way. So her her type 1 and type 2 fibers just weren't as explosive as like an actual athlete would have been, if I were to say. So it was very hard for her to even grow off of lifting those heavy weights from those 5 to 8 rep ranges. She was doing it for a while, but just because her patellar and all her tendons were not used to it, it created a lot of inflammation for her, right? So what we did was start lowering that down and go to square one. Like square one, when we were working out in the old garage gym back in 20 2020, actually, yeah, so back in 2020, the old garage gym, we had a garage set up, and the only thing we did was just squats, 5 sets, 6 sets, just heavy volume. um and honestly, that's what's grown her legs the most, right? It's because for most females, they'll start to see where there has been studies to show that females actually respond faster in a high intensity kind of interval training, right? So you'll start to see more growth and recovery actually when you start training that way, as we saw from Sophie. So we started adding not as many top sets as a way because we still didn't want to inflame that patellar tendon too much, and put too much stress on the knees as she's doing 3 leg days plus on top of cardio, and now she's running too, and of course standing all the time from being at work. But yeah, we started adding 1 to 2 top sets with more intensifiers like back off sets, doing more SST kind of styles. So a lot of rest pauses, myo reps, stuff like that. And that's definitely helped her grow a lot more. Um, and honestly, too, with the type of training, she's still able to stretch out her muscle fascia, and really just get those areas to grow, right? So, yeah, no, that's definitely something big. It was definitely something we had to really work on for sure, just because we did have to take a lot of deloads, and this off season was very very hard for us because we did have to take a lot of time off for your knees and just try to figure that out. But I think have things rolling now, so I think things are looking good now. So yeah, what would you say? Because this one is also a very very big one for you too. But how would you say your diet was before training with me versus now training with me? And then what do you think the hardest parts were?
The hardest part of dieting.
The hardest part of like digestion, etc.
Mm. Well, before I was with you, I was trying to be a health queen, but in the totally wrong way. So I was like eating tofu. I was eating, I don't even know, like dates and peanut butter, like the weirdest healthy food. Um, so I was eating like clean, I would say, but obviously I love a good bowl of chips. Like I'd never say no to ice cream. I'm a huge dessert person. Um, but once I started training with you, we obviously switched over my diet to more like simple foods, whole foods, um, keeping things consistent, which has been huge on my digestion because when I first met you, my digestion was horrible. And it took like 2 years of trial and error to figure out what works for me. Um, Finally, for the past while, my digestion has been good. I can eat a cheat meal and not be dying the next day. We also figured out that it was dairy partially too, obviously. So even just removing that helped a lot. But now that my digestion's a lot better. I can even tolerate like small amounts of dairy and desserts and stuff. Um, but definitely the change to just eating the same thing every day, the same like types of food every single day has made immense changes. My bloating is down, digestion's good. I don't feel like horrible every time I eat. So it definitely world of difference.
Yeah, it was definitely very hard for us to develop a meal plan for you, just because for I guess background things, she was a very Caucasian person, eating the most bland foods and literally eating nothing. Like she's never even had sushi until she's met me. So like it was for someone that hasn't built that gut bacteria to actually digest all these things, even like pork, or even fattier steaks, like she can't even digest, right? So it was definitely much harder for sure. And of course, we don't want to feed her something in prep or off season, that her body's not going to digest, and we definitely just don't want to take that risk, right? But yeah, it was definitely very hard to find what works with you. And I remember the one time we changed your whole training, your whole meal plan, and we're like, okay, let's try this. And then we literally just started removing foods, and we're like, okay, how do you feel today? How do you feel today? And we started adding different things, right? We started adding a lot of things to help with pH balance in your gut, a lot of to help with your gut acidity. But yeah, it was definitely a trial and error. But now that we found what works, it'll definitely be that. But honestly, it was good for me as a coaching aspect, as not gonna lie, you were my hardest client to even learn. Most of my clients, I'm not gonna lie, after they send to 3, 4 check-ins, I pretty much have a read on all of them. like even my most communicative clients that do shows and that compete regularly and communicate with me regularly, I have full control over their diet and their training and whatever goes in their mouth. I have full control of, to the point where basically at 5 or 6 weeks out, I know when their bowels are going to move, when they're going to wake up, all these things, right? All these markers. Um, so honestly, it's pretty cool like that, and that's honestly training Sophie has had me develop all these skills, especially too, we'll get to this part, but your hormones also weren't to par also. So we really had to figure that out, right? So even coming off birth control and all that stuff, right? So yeah. Uh, do you have anything else to add to your nutrition?
Um, well, we did do a strictly chicken and rice diet for a few months when my digestion was really bad. So I had, I think, like 5 meals a day of just chicken and rice. And yeah, that's what it came down to. But I'm just glad we got it figured out. Now I can eat like a normal person. So it's pretty good.
Somewhat. Yeah.
Somewhat. Yeah. I
Um,
can get a cheat meal and survive. So that's what matters.
and so for you, let's go back to bodybuilding. So you are someone with a very, very tough mindset. So you're very motivated and very driven, right? Which honestly, that's why I was attracted to you, because you had goals and you were very motivated, right? To do better, even if it's not in bodybuilding, to do better in school, to do better in life, right? With money, etc. What do you think? How do you think discipline plays in your success?
Well, to me, I'm always like a do or die type of person. So I'm like, if I want to get something done, for me, there's no option B. If I want something done, I have to do it. That's just how it is. So, like, for example, I just started running recently and literally never ran in my life because the whole backstory, but all of primary school, I had a mystery ankle injury that no one could figure out for years. So I literally didn't participate in any track and field, any running, nothing. So I literally am starting from zero. And if I'm like, I'm going to run 2.5K today, I'm going to do it. That's just how I am. Um, but I really think it just comes down to how you see things. If you don't give yourself a way out, if you don't give yourself an option, you just have to get it done. And discipline in I feel like it's just a good skill to have in general in life. Because how are you ever going to improve yourself if you don't set yourself goals, if you don't discipline yourself to get something done that you've been putting off forever? It should just always be something in the back of your mind. It's never about motivation because there's days that everyone's going to wake up, not want to get out of bed in the morning, not want to get their stuff done. But at the end of the day, you have to think about your overall goal. You have to think about where you want to be, what you want to do. While you're sitting there in bed, not doing anything, there's someone out there who's working harder than you are. And you should always let that be the, I don't want to say motivation, but be the fuel for your own discipline.
Because I'm a strong believer that motivation only lasts for so long, right? So people can be
100%.
motivated, and that's those. If you're thinking about like that new year, new me, that's just straight motivation, right? But it takes discipline to really carry that on. And I think the biggest thing is you just have to create a goal. And that's why I created this business. It's in this team called Tunnel Vision, right? You just have to be tunnel vision to that singular goal. And it's basically the tendency to achieve a single goal, right? So realistically, it's a lot of people I see. They're like, "Oh, I'm so motivated to do this. I'm so motivated to do that," and they fall off after like 2 weeks, right? Because they don't have the discipline to keep going. They don't have the discipline to wake up, go make your money, come to the gym, even take care of themselves, right? So I think discipline is very, very big for sure. But yeah, and it's just like, especially in our position, I guess, on the team, we set a very, very strong example, and I set a very strong standard to all the athletes on my team, right? And how are someone like me going to preach that when I don't do it myself too, right? So Yeah. Um, this one will get a little personal, but have you dealt with any body image issues or like comparisons in the past?
100%. Especially back like before I even got into bodybuilding, it was always like I was always very self-conscious of how I looked, of my body. That probably comes from just growing up in dance where you're thrown on stage in like a tight bodysuit. Um, but for me, I know for a lot of people getting into bodybuilding can actually fuel those body image issues, make them feel worse about themselves because the whole point of the sport is revolving around how you look. But personally, for me, getting into bodybuilding has actually improved my self image a lot. Of course, I have my days in the off season. I'll look at myself, be like, "What happened to me?" Um, but it's definitely it's now I'm not so focused on how I look, but it's more so on how I feel, how I perform, what I can do, like how I can challenge myself and push my body. Because at the end of the day, I know when the time comes down to it, when I'm on prep, I'm going to get to where I need to be. I'm going to get lean enough. And if you want to improve from prep to prep or just in general, you're going to have to eat more. You're going to have to gain more body fat. You're going to have to get bigger because how are you ever going to put on muscle if you're not taking your off season serious, if you're not getting bigger, if you're not uncomfortable? So it's definitely some people just I look at it in the wrong way because it's not always about how you look. It's how you're improving yourself, how serious you're taking your off season, and then that all plays into how you're going to look on your next prep.
Yeah, and that was definitely something very big that um, a lot of new competitors and even myself had to really learn, right? And it's like you have to put on weight in the off season. Like if you don't put on weight, you're not going to grow, right? And that's just what people really just have to understand. It's yeah, you're gonna put on a little bit of body fat, but it's how much body fat you put on and what you're feeding your body, right? Because I've said this many times before, and it's like, yeah, you can go on a bulk, but a lot of people they go on a bulk and they just eat whatever they want, right? And it's like, yeah, you're gonna get in your calories, but the amount of fat accumulation you're going to get, and that's what people think a bulk is, right? But if you properly do a bulk with a coach or you do it by yourself with just education, you're gonna notice a lot more gains. Plus, when it comes time to cutting and your your energy in the gym is just gonna be so much better, right? Because the fuel is actually going somewhere, right? So honestly, at this point, it's like for me, it's like I'm already like a naturally strong person. So I'm like, when I go in the off season, I'm like, oh my god, I can get even stronger, and I can like instead of pushing 3 plates in prep, I can start pushing 4 plates, 4.5 plates, right? And I get excited for that, right? So you just find the things you get excited for, right? Like for girls, it's like, oh, I can get a fatty, right? Like I can get a big butt now, right? So, yeah, that's just something there. What so far? Because I know you've been bodybuilding for a while, but I guess you've only have competed like what last year, right? So, what would you say the biggest lesson bodybuilding has taught you?
Overall, um, well, I would say how much I can push myself to my limits. Um, because especially in prep, I had never worked so hard for something in my entire life. Where it was like prep gets to the point where your entire day revolves around your eating times, your cardio, your workouts. And I was still in school at that point. I was still working. I still had all these things to do. And I was still trying to live my life and enjoy life. So it definitely taught myself how much I can push myself to my limits and what I can accomplish. Um, and it definitely I don't know, it's a very rewarding sport.
Yeah, and like a lot of people don't understand this, but bodybuilding can transition into life lessons also that you can put into your business, just you, your family, right? It's I tell all these guys on my team that want to create a business and they want to be successful, and I'm like, look at what you learned in bodybuilding. Look what you learned in prep, right? If you put in the work and you show up every single day and you're consistent with it, you're going to have a good outcome. Whereas if you don't, when you step on stage, you're gonna look like a bag of milk, right? So like when I tell everyone that, and it's like, yeah, transition this into life. Like, yeah, go do your leads, go email these people, go make connections, right? And you stay consistent every single day, even on social media. If you want to post, right? See what people want. Like, go communicate with people, right? And just show people your personality. And you do that every single day, you're going to get work from it, right? And a lot of people, they stop doing that, especially with business, because they're like, oh, my business isn't growing. Like, I'm putting in so much work, right? I'm like, that's the same exact people that start in January at the gym and they're like, okay, I did 2 hours of cardio this week. Why is my body not losing weight? I'm like, you got to do that every single week, right? And you start seeing those little changes, you start seeing those little gains, right? And a lot of people don't really, I guess, look into it that deep. But yeah, um, this will be a big thing that a lot of people will ask about. But how do you? So, of course, me being your coach and your boyfriend, and the best person you ever talked to. Um, but how do you, or I guess we both can answer this question, but how do we keep the connection with just a coach and client, and then our relationship here? Like, was there any struggles um, or anything like that?
I feel like it was definitely a challenge at some points. Um, but at the same time, like we also have a very established, like a good friendship aside from our relationship. I don't know if that sounds weird, but like we can be friends around other people and not like be weird and make them uncomfortable. Um, and I feel like that kind of transcribes into having a coach client relationship. And at the same time, because I look up to you and because you're my boyfriend and you're counting on me and I want to make you happy and impress you, um, I I will make sure I follow everything to a T. Like there is never because I feel like if I would do something like off plan or if I like didn't do my cardio one day, like something like that, I would be disappointed in myself because I don't want to disappoint you. And I feel like that just helps that coach client connection because I'll always listen to what you tell me to do, obviously. But it's definitely been a challenge at some points having to, outside of that coach client relationship, also have our actual relationship. But I feel like we've kind of found a groove that makes it work. We just have to remember sometimes that we need to put bodybuilding aside and focus on a relationship or lock in and focus on bodybuilding. You know, it goes both ways. So it's just finding that balance between relationship and being a coach.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people say it, but the biggest thing is going to be communication, right? And communication is going to be like
100%.
huge when it comes to something like this. Um, but yeah, like of course, me being a coach and a competitor and your boyfriend definitely like is a lot, right? So even like I mean, I can even dive into it, but when I was yeah a client of another coach, so an athlete, a coach myself that has competitors competing at nationals. I also have to be a boyfriend. And then at the same time, I was a general manager at a gym, right? So I'm like, with all those accountabilities, it's like, you're not even like just like there. You're like the top dog, right? Everyone looks up to you and there's so much like pressure. And I'm like, yeah, it was definitely like a lot on my plate, right? And even just anyone like this, and they ask me all the time, how do I balance it? And you have to, realistically, you can't, like, you really can't, like, you can't balance having a perfect bodybuilding career with a perfect relationship with perfect business while working a full-time job perfectly and making sure everything's hit right. You have to find those like little things, and that's why time management is a huge thing, right? It's like, okay,
Yes.
like, let me spend some time with Sophie on this day. So I'm going to do my client work on this day, or I'm going to make sure I have this day off of work, right? And do this and that, right? So you just have to make little adjustments to definitely make up for the other person, because at the end of the day, like, Sophie didn't decide to date me because of bodybuilding, right? So like she didn't like, she shouldn't be suffering through this while I'm going through like a hard time in life in a way, you know, like she didn't decide to date a bodybuilder, you know what I mean? Like I just have developed into one. So it's definitely, yeah, but now that honestly, like you start finding the important things in your life, and yeah, I started to notice, yeah, our relationship was slipping away a little bit because I was like, okay, I wasn't spending time with Sophie and we just didn't have any time. And literally 5 days a week I was at the gym managing it almost like 9 hours a day. Plus I was on prep, so I was doing cardio, like 2 hours of cardio plus my workout. And then on the weekends I'm like tired, and then also at the same time going to client shows, right? So it's like I just thought that was very unfair, right? So you just find like you're, because at the end of the day it's like our relationship is so strong that even though we go through those things and we communicate, the other person is always going to be there supporting us, right? And it's not like Sophie goes, oh, like f you, like you're not like in this relationship 100%, you know, like she knew I was going through a time and I was going through a lot of stress, right? So she, no matter what, it did suck, but she was always going to be by my side, right? So a lot of the success that I have right now wouldn't have been here without Sophie supporting me, right? And just having that support system, right? So it definitely plays a very, very big thing to communicate while having a relationship like this, right? And I am harsh sometimes as a coach, like straight up, I'll be like, do you want me to talk to you as a coach or do you want me to talk to you as a boyfriend, right? And sometimes she'll be like, yeah, I feel fat. Like, I feel like you're giving me so much food. I feel like this. And I'm like, just eat it. Like, do you want to be big or you want to be like, like, you want to be jacked? And then I was like, you want to be that competitor? And she's like, okay, I just need some reassurance, right? You know, like it's definitely really hard to like balance those those two. But yeah, you flip the switch on and off, and I think we've been doing it for a while now. Like we've been doing it for 4 years, over 4 years now. So we've definitely got like a groove on that for sure. But
To
yeah,
add on to that too, it's like there's definitely times where like your relationship's never going to be 50-50, but like there's times with us where it's like 90-10 or like 20-80, and just one of us has to pick up the slack. That's just, we both committed to this lifestyle, we both committed to this relationship. We kind of just have to deal with it. And it's just part of our life now. Like there's some days where if Pat is too tired to drive, I'll go get him an energy drink, I'll drive him around for the day. There's times where I'm too tired and he'll do the same for me. It's just
sometimes.
you have to. Yeah, I probably do it more often, but anyways, um, I'm still here, so it's fine. Um, but it's definitely, you just have to be okay with sometimes being responsible for picking up that slack and for having to do more things for the other person than you're getting back. And that's just how bodybuilding is sometimes. But you're still able to make time for other people.
Yeah, and I think already like we're not introverted in any way. Like when we go and talk to people, we're very like outgoing, but we just also like spending time like alone. Like if I could just sit in a room by myself in like darkness, I totally would, right? So we both are just
Mhm.
like that, and we're very focused on our goals. So honestly, like with me, the biggest thing is that she doesn't depend on me in like that way where yeah, I need to pay for this, I need to do that, right? I like her life like depends on me, right? She doesn't even like, her life does not depend on me. Like she has her own life, I have my own life, right? And like we're growing. I always say in a relationship, you're growing together, but you're also growing in your own paths, right? So like we say all the time, like we're comfortable if yeah, if she were to break up with me or I were to break up with her, we are in a much better state than when we were in our past relationships, right? Because we have grown together and we've developed ourselves. And I wouldn't even see it as a bad breakup. I'd be like, damn, she's developed me into the person I am today, right? So, yeah, I mean, we can definitely dive into that another time too,
Yeah,
in
we'll make a
relationships
whole
and bodybuilding,
podcast
because
on
yeah,
relationship tea.
because it definitely is really big. Even with the harder thing, I think instead of a coaching client connection is having a boyfriend or a girlfriend that's not in bodybuilding while you're competing. I think that's
Mhm.
one of the hardest things because us as bodybuilders, we think that bodybuilding revolves around like us, right? And like the world revolves around us because it's a very selfish thing, right? So we're like, we tell people, oh, like I'm competing in a show. You think they really care? No, they don't really care. They're gonna go home and eat like a burger, right? They really don't care. And you go tell the average person, oh, like I'm a bodybuilder, this and that. They don't understand the discipline that it takes to get into bodybuilding. They don't know. And do they care? No, right? But I think it's definitely much harder for a significant other to, or even just your friends in general or family, to understand the whole bodybuilding side of it without actually seeing it, right? And I see it all the time with first time competitors and their significant others or their families, and they're like, it's very hard for them to accept, right? Because at the same time, it's the athlete also has to live a regular life while added stressors on top, mental and physical stressors on top, right? And the other person just has to, I guess, accept a lifestyle that's not like average in a way, So I've definitely seen it a lot, but once, especially in prep too, prep is very, very hard, and prep is very, very selfish, which is the total opposite of a relationship. So yeah, you definitely have to find the right one, and you definitely have to explain yourself before you get in a relationship, I guess, with a competitor. That's why a lot of girls are like, I can never date a bodybuilder, because all they do is they have to eat a certain time, they have to eat a certain amount, they have to go train a certain time, right? But I mean, we can be the sexiest people out here. You can leave us for another person if you want, but yeah.
I think we should talk about how our families adjusted to our bodybuilding lifestyle. I know this is
Mm,
your podcast, but like I just
we can do
thought of the
that.
question while you're talking about that. So,
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Yeah. So you can go first.
well, it definitely was a hard adjustment because like I've always had family dinners, like we've always eaten together, whatever. But my parents are very, very supportive. I'm very lucky. They're super supportive. They'll always come watch my shows. They want to go watch Padit shows. They literally be liking all our stories, everything like that. So I'm really grateful for the support from my family. But it definitely at first, when I first started, because they didn't understand it, they were more so just like, oh, like why are you eating the same thing every day? Like, is that good? Like, are you eating enough? Blah blah blah. But it's like once I explain it to them, super supportive. Even when I'm tired and grumpy and probably yelling at everyone, they still love me. So shout out to mom and dad and my sisters. Um, and when I was in prep last year, I baked a lot for them. So they're not going to complain about me being in prep because they get a lot of free dessert. So, what about you? How's your family?
Yeah, mine's definitely a little tougher. At first, it was, so I started bodybuilding over COVID, right? So I was playing football for the longest time too. I got signed to a university here in Ontario for a full commitment. And yeah, like being even one of the top players in Canada, it was just not like intriguing to them in a way. And like anything I did realistically. But even like something in bodybuilding, it was like an obsession to me, right? So like when I started over COVID, you had nothing else to do. I would literally just be here. I would work at Popeyes for 20 hours a week. I would train in the morning, go work at Popeyes, and then train in the evening. Like that's literally all I did, right? And then I would literally just stay up and play video games. Like that's literally what my life was. But yeah, like it was a total obsession. Like in that time, I was going through a weight loss journey too, because I mean, we can explain this a little later, but I definitely had like some stuff with like weight loss and like bullying and stuff like that, right? So I was going through like a weight loss and a heartbreak actually. Like I was broken up with, and I literally was just, we used to go eat out all the time. So I was just this like fat slob that was just sitting there over COVID, right? And I'm like, I can't even go anywhere or do anything. So yeah, bodybuilding became an obsession. And I think they thought it was a little too much. And they're like, even now, like it's been 4 years now, and even now, it's like when family comes over, it's like, oh, he doesn't even eat what we eat. Like he doesn't even do this. He doesn't even do that. And I'm like, you guys know I don't do this, right? But at the same time, then they'll be like, they'll go and they'll praise, and they'll be like, oh my god, like the yeah, they'll be like, oh my God, like he bodybuilds, like he's a coach, like he's this, he's that, right? But they definitely were not supportive until they saw me step on stage, and they saw how happy I was, and the support system that I had, with all my friends, all my coaches, right? And just even like the distant family that have been watching me, right? So they definitely feel like the work has paid off, and they definitely saw how happy I was, which is their number one thing. They just want to make sure I'm happy, right? And doing what I love. But yeah, we can definitely get into this one another time too. But of course, now making bodybuilding my career, that was a whole nother story, right? So they don't see the money come out of it. They don't, which I mean, you don't make money from bodybuilding. Like as an amateur bodybuilder, you make $0. You spend a lot more making the money than, or using your money up than making any money at all, right? So yeah, but I always say though, I mean, I'm going a little off topic, but I always say if you love something that you do, the money will come, right? So they're a little bit more supportive now. In a way, they're still kind of iffy about it, like being like, "Oh, like what's your career gonna be?" And I'm like, I know if I tell you, you're just gonna tell me like not to do it. So they're definitely warming up a little bit. My dad for sure. I think he sees that he's a little bit more into my business, and my coaching. So he sees all these people I have. He sees the community that I have with my team, the connection I have with my team, how happy it makes me every single day to go and see my team, the events that we do, right? So I think he sees that a little bit more. So he's a little bit more supportive in that way. But yeah, of course, every immigrant parent just wants me to work a 9 to 5 in an office, making, I guess, 6 figures, right? So that's definitely my story. It's a little bit more complicated than yours, I guess, but yeah,
At
yeah,
least my parents are there to support both of us. So,
yeah. Her parents actually know more about my bodybuilding life, I guess, than my own parents. But yeah, they just show more interest in things, right? And it's definitely once you competed, and I think once I competed, even your parents were like they were like really intrigued, right? They were like, "Oh, let's watch the Olympia," and I'm like, "What the hell? You want to just watch
yeah.
the Olympia, right? Or even let's watch the Arnold, right?" And yeah, it's just something that they show like interest in, right? So
And
just because it's very very different.
it's definitely a different environment because, well, I have two sisters, so there's three girls, and we all did competitive dance. And I think just like being in the bodybuilding world now, because dance is like a very, anyone who's grown up in competitive dance, they know it's a very toxic um, sport. And there's a lot of drama, especially between the moms. Like, it's just dance moms is not an exaggeration. That's how it is in real life. Um, but just like being in the bodybuilding competition world, totally different. It's a very uplifting community. It's very mature. There's not a lot of drama between people. So I think just being in that and my parents seeing that, they're like, oh my gosh, like sports can be not toxic. It's crazy. So it's definitely
Yeah,
like now they're in. They love it.
yeah, and yeah. Well, that was actually yeah. We can move on from that. What would you say? What makes what would you say? Because you've seen tunnel vision from the start, and actually, for people that don't know how I came up with the name tunnel vision, I'm not even gonna lie. I remember Sophie was driving me home from my shift at Popeyes, and I was sitting there, and I was like, let me create a name because I'm like trained by Padit is just not it, right? And I was just like, what is something that like athletes and competitors can relate to? And it was just, I think it was literally like 10 p.m. But I was like, in my head, I'm like, tunnel vision. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, wait, tunnel vision. I was like, let
You're
me
like,
name it
that's the
tunnel
one.
vision.
That's the one.
Yeah. But what would you say that we have that's different than any other team out there?
100% the community. the tunnel vision community, we're all like everyone's friends, everyone gets along. It's like a big family for all of us, I think. But every show that we've ever gone to for any competitors, whether that's Padit, me, his other clients, people that don't even haven't even met these people in person will come and watch the show from the team. We've had people drive from 3 hours away to come watch a show. And it's just because everyone's very uplifting to each other. We're always supporting each other. And Padit does a lot of events for people. So last year we did a barbecue. We're going to plan like a beach day. And it's just a lot of fun stuff for everyone. And we did an Airbnb back at Maya's show and Andrew's, was it? Or no, it's Maya's show.
My
Um,
show, yeah.
yeah, where like just the girls in Padit, we all stayed together in an Airbnb. And it's a whole community and everyone just uplifts everyone. Everyone supports everyone. And I don't always see that from other teams. Not saying they don't have it, um, but it's definitely just a huge focus of tunnel vision to have everyone connect with each other and support each other, inspire each other.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me, and I wanted to just create a community because for me it was very hard to get into fitness, right? Like I was like that fat kid that everyone just made fun of, right? And they're like, "Oh, what are you flexing? Like there's literally no muscle there or anything, right?" And I was very intimidated to go to Crunch Fitness, right? I look at back at Crunch Fitness now and I'm like, why was I intimidated to go to Crunch Fitness, right? But I was intimidated to go into there, and even just anything I did, I was just so scared to do because I was so lost, right? And I didn't have a support system. I didn't have any friends, right? So the biggest thing, especially when I created this, the girl community now is much better. But when I first created this, it was very hard for girls to even get into fitness, right? Because they were scared before, because they thought they were going to get judged by other girls or just get catcalled by guys, right? But I created that like community where, yeah, even people that aren't even on the team or were on the team in the past and aren't anymore, they still come to all our events, right? And it's like we have these people that are like, it's like maybe 80% of the event is our team, and then the other 20 is like people that are just supportive and they just have seen all this stuff, and they have other coaches themselves, but they just like coming into the community here, right? But yeah, it's just I try to do a lot to give back to the community, give back to my team, even though, yeah, like my team is paying me, right? Like all these clients pay me monthly and they pay me upfront, right? But at the same time, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have this team. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have such a community that we have, right? I always tell every one of my clients too, it's like I'm as thankful for them as they are for me, right? Because it creates another connection that you don't even know where it's going to take you, right? I've created so all most of my closest friends are actually all my clients, right? And it's like
Same.
it's so crazy to think about, but every time like I get someone on the team and they're very nervous to get into the gym and everything like that, I'm like, I guarantee you, once I post you, you're gonna get so many followers from, yeah, if you're one of the gym girlies, you're gonna get all the followers from the gym girlies, right? And they're gonna all message you, right? And they're always gonna be like, welcome to the team. Like it's just nice like that, right? And yeah, like what Sophie said, there's literally, give an example of one of my clients. She went out of her way actually. She bought an Airbnb, drove all the way, took off work just so she can come watch a show that she's, first of all, she hasn't even been to a bodybuilding show, so she doesn't even know how it's going to be like, and also come and meet someone that she hasn't even actually known ever, right? So it's it's definitely just a very very good community like that. So that's, I'm very thankful for the team that we have for sure. So yeah, um, we'll ask a little bit more and then we'll finish this off. We'll start off with, actually, um, let's do a rapid fire. We'll do a rapid fire. What's your favorite body part to train?
Probably quads. What's yours?
Quads. I honestly just did
No,
a
it's
quad day.
not.
No, I said quads, question
Or
mark.
why? Because he had, yeah, it's not quads. It's just because he had a good quad day today. You hate
No,
training
it's
quads.
still not quad. I will hate training quads for the rest of my life. I know I have to do it, but I just hate training quads. People are like, "Oh, you must love legs. You have big legs." I'm like, "No, I hate it." If you like, I literally trained today with my training partner, Lachlan, and I came out of the car after an hour drive and I fell on my porch. I was just, I literally was like helpless. Like I literally just fell down and I just stayed down. It was actually crazy, but I've never had that happen to me ever. But yeah, my favorite body part's probably, surprisingly, it's probably chest, because chest is one of my strongest now. Whereas before, I was like, I loved actually training legs before, and I hated training upper body because I was weak. But now I'm like, I can start pushing some weight. So I'm like, yeah, this is fun.
When you get a chest bump, those are mommy milkers. Like they're like so big. It's actually
Yeah, you
crazy
know it's
when your
crazy.
man has bigger boobs
Yeah,
than you.
I wish they were bigger too. I mean,
Well, they're bigger than
we
mine,
always wish.
so you can have that.
What is your least favorite exercise to do?
Like specific exercise?
Hmm.
I hate cable bicep curls. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I'll bicep curl with an easy bar. I just hate the cable. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just dread it. Every time I see it in my plan, I want to cry.
Mine's probably, I did them today, Bulgarians. I hate Bulgarians so much. I absolutely hate it. Especially like, shout out to my coach. Why are you putting it at the end of my workout when I am dead after hack squat and leg press and a drop set quad extension? This is insane.
You know what's funny? Is you put it at the end of my plan. So,
Yeah,
Bulgarians,
but
it's
I'm
after
like,
my entire quad workout. So he's just doing the same thing you're doing to me. Now you understand.
ooh, we can end with this one here actually. What is one piece of advice you wish you knew at the start of your fitness journey?
That's a good question. Wait, I wish I knew how much I could push myself because I feel like when I started training, I kind of was just going for the fun of it. I wasn't really pushing myself, but now I know how much I can push my body to the limits. And that's something I wish I started doing 8 years back, or I don't know how long I've been training for. Like, yeah, probably about that time. I wish back then I knew how hard I could push myself because where would I be now if I had been training properly that whole time and actually been pushing myself instead of being like, oh, I'm out of breath, like I'm done. No, like you can push yourself a lot harder than you think you can.
Hmm. Mine is definitely, I honestly wish I hired a coach earlier because I look back at my progress and yeah, I made a lot of progress by myself. I got very strong, but for my goals in bodybuilding, I knew nothing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, right? And I was trying to start this like coaching business and I was like, I don't even know how to train like a person, right? Like I don't even know how to train myself. So when I first got my first bodybuilding coach, I was like, oh my God, I literally know nothing. I don't even know what these things are. Right? Like what the hell is like a rest pause? What's like a drop set? I mean, I knew what a drop set was, but I was like, what the hell is a rest pause? Like a mile rep? Like what is an SST set? Right? I was like, what is cream of rice? I don't even know what cream of rice is. Right? So I literally was like, I feel like I could have made a lot faster progress if I have just put my ego down and just got a coach, right? And actually, that can branch to another thing too. The amount of growth that I've had in my business, in my career, and in bodybuilding was due to removing the ego, right? And a lot of people don't understand that. And with all the coaches that I've worked with, I have removed my ego, right? And I'm like, I have hired you to do a job and whatever you tell me goes, right? And I'm always willing to learn. Like that's why, yeah, I'm a coach and I coach like national level clients. But at the same time, if you're not learning, you're dead, right? So you always have to be willing to learn, and you always have to be willing to have that open mindset to learn from someone at a superior, right? So
And at the
yeah,
end of the day, why are you going to hire a coach? Why are you paying your own money to someone if you're not going to listen to what they're telling you to do? So that's one thing I've never understood. This is like a whole other tangent, but like, why would you pay someone to tell
yeah,
you
I
what to
have a
do
lot to say
and then
about
not
that.
do what they're telling you to do, you know?
Hmm. Or you hire a coach and then you go, yeah, but like I heard this and this. And I'm like, yeah, but you hired me. Like I have a certain way of doing things. Like that person has a certain way of doing things, right? So yeah,
Every
it
coach
just,
has a different style, yeah.
hmm. But yeah, anyways, I think we'll end it there though. Um, Thank you again for coming onto the podcast. We'll
You're
definitely
so
have you
welcome.
on again once the Olympia comes on and we can start doing some guessing of like who is going to win the
Ooh,
Wellness Olympia, etc.
so
Yeah,
excited. And we'll talk, we have to do
yeah,
an
we'll
episode
definitely.
where we talk hormones, because that's a big thing. And there's something else, but now I forget that we mentioned earlier. We'll talk about later. But, anyways, thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
but yeah, thank you for coming on. Um, I'll leave Sophie's Instagram in the description. She is actually becoming one of our second female coaches, who also specializes in bikini and wellness posing, and bikini and lifestyle competition prep. So she's mentored with me for 5+ years. She's learned all the things from me. And honestly, not gonna lie, she knows like pretty good amount. Like to be honest, to the point where if you look back at our like old conversations versus now, it's like night and day, right? She'll be like, what is this? What is this? And she'd be like, should I do this because this makes my body do this, this, and this, right? So yeah. But yeah, I'll leave her Instagram down below, and you guys can definitely reach her from that, right? So yeah, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode.